Tuesday, fourth week of lockdown. Yes, and I've got Chevy with me today, who is a respiratory therapist, which, working on the front lines, and he's here to come in and tell us all about it. Hi!
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Chevy, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Long time to see. I'm keeping well, but I'm busy. Hi, Chad. Yeah, how you doing? I haven't
I'm
seen you in
good.
so long.
It's been a
Tell me
minute.
also, I want to spread the word here. So you're respiratory therapist.
Therapist. Yes.
What is that
And
exactly? I mean, I know it's about the lungs and it's about breathing, but exactly what do you do?
well, basically, in a hospital setting,
Yeah.
we take care of anything that regards the lungs, essentially.
Right.
So, if a patient has any lung disease from COPD, asthma, to even if their heart stops, or we're everywhere. We're in ER, ICU, cardiac surgery.
Yeah.
We're in pretty much, we're if the nurse were the right hand man of in the hospital, we're the
Yeah.
left.
Okay. Okay. I had run-ins with respiratory therapists at SiSSi's a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That was he kind of saved me at that point, so that's a big deal. And we salute you, sir, Scott, he says, from London. Uh,
Hello.
yes, anyone has any questions, please pop them in and we'll try and answer them, or Chevy will.
Yeah,
But
I'll be more
my
than happy to help them.
so you're what is your place of work? It's a hospital. What's it called?
I work at Good Samaritan Hospital in downtown LA,
Okay,
so we're definitely in the heart of it all. We get a
right.
lot of COVID patients from pretty much LA and everyone who comes to LA, since we're such a melting pot, we have a lot of people that come in and just we're, I don't know if you know this, or well, you do know this because you're from the UK, but
Right.
uh, we are a breeding ground for transplants. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've heard that word before,
Yeah.
but everyone comes here because we have, well, you're in music, I'm in
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
Um, Acting, production, movies, so forth and so on. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of people that want to be a part of that, and we are the mecca for that. So, um, with that said, it's like New York, but we're spread out. That's why
Right.
we're not as affected as New York is
Right.
because of the way Los Angeles is,
It's
you know,
built. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a lucky thing for us here.
I
I
agree.
would not, I couldn't imagine being in New York right now. Like people going on the underground and everything's so tight together and high rises next to you.
I
Like, oh my
know.
God, I really feel for my friends in New York. It's crazy. But so how did you watch the whole increase? Like when you were you're basically on the front lines.
It
Are
was
you getting
very
the same information that we are getting? Were you more worried beforehand? How did you see that from a sort of medical uh, point of view? How things have turned out in the US so far and how they've been handled?
Well, we definitely had a lot more stress than the average person
Right.
because when we were getting our first COVID patients, our infection control and CDC were basically trying to put together the right protocols to abide by.
Right.
And when that takes a little bit of time and effort for everyone within the hospital to kind of abide by. Um, it was it was stressful to say
Yeah.
the least because there were so many times where we had medical professionals like myself
Yeah.
question like, do I have it? We ended up like intubating a patient, for example.
Yeah.
We ended up like this was like maybe when it first started happening.
Right.
We would work with a patient and that ultimately in the end became a COVID patient, but we didn't know that. We didn't have the
Right.
resource at that time to really understand the gravity of the problem.
Right.
And when we did, find out that these patients were COVID, we had to figure out, are we positive and are
Right.
we going through those? You know, are we asymptomatic? It all, and going
Exactly.
through those motions were very stressful, and
Right.
took a lot out of me. And I know for a fact that a lot of my, colleagues went through the same
Right.
stress and so forth and so on.
Did you know from when it all started? Like, I mean, obviously you didn't realize initially this was a COVID patient, but did you all know how to deal with it? Did you have all the tools to deal with it? I mean, this whole thing about medical people not having masks yet, they're not being in a test at a point in time. Are there tests now? Were there tests in the beginning? I have somebody who like a friend who wanted to get tested because,
Hmm.
and she was sent home although she was coughing. They said, no, we're not testing you. And I was like, is that because you don't have any tests?
Um,
Or is that,
well,
what's the thing? Like how did that whole thing develop? From
so
when it started till you realized what it was till you knew what you had to do and did you have the tools kind of thing?
we definitely, like, at first, I want to say the first month it really just hit us.
Is that
We
that was
didn't.
February in the US, right? Like
Yes,
it
yes,
wasn't before that, probably. Okay.
no. And we did have kind of like the way. I'm not too sure if I can talk about it, but we definitely had a test to rule out patients,
Right.
um, to figure out if they had symptoms, and
Yeah.
had, because you had to go through basically levels.
Yeah.
Like if you're coughing, you're feverish, you had shortness of breath,
Yeah.
and then, so if you had all those, if you check marked all those,
Yeah.
then we would ultimately, like, do the test to rule you out.
Okay.
And at first, in the first month of going through it, we didn't have, we had to go through our rule out testing, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't for COVID. It was for everything else around COVID. So if you weren't these things, if you were one of these things, it can be like SARS,
Right.
um, influenza, so forth and so on. If you weren't one of those things and you still had, all those symptoms, then we would ultimately take your the specimen, the
Yeah.
test, and then we would send it to someone who would take the test for us, which
Okay.
is an outside company.
Right.
So going through that rigmarole was very, as I said, full of,
Yeah.
we were all full of angst, and
Sure.
just we had to go through so many different things. And with the PPEs, like the protective gear,
Yeah.
um, it was, we felt unsafe, essentially, because of the lack in the first month or so, because
Mhm.
we weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
We had some, but people, our infection control became more like they wanted to kind of be scarce about it so it could last longer, because
Right. Right. Right.
we
Right.
we saw it going for the long run. So they wanted to they wanted to play it safe and kind of like give you one for the day, and that was very, wearing those masks for
Especially just
12-hour
like paper
shifts.
masks. I mean, I was told by a doctor they don't even like work in the sense that as soon as you breathe on it and it gets like moist, the actual effect of it kind of goes away. So you need to change it like every 15 minutes or something. We're talking
Um,
about this papery masks, right?
yes, they're called N95s, and they're used
Oh, you talk
for
about N95s. Okay.
yeah, they're used for basically like TB patients, COVID
Yeah.
patients, certain aerosolized uh, diseases.
Yeah.
So that's what we use. We've used them for other things, like, as I said,
Yeah.
TB patients. Um, but we would, right now our protocol is to wear two masks, um,
Yeah.
to be
I did
able to
that.
to save to save it for the whole day. And
Right.
then Home Depot actually donated these face shields
I
to
saw the
rest.
visors, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was very helpful, and we use, you know really good protocol infection control guideline cleaning techniques.
Right.
We use this thing called viricide, and
Uh-huh.
every patient that we see, or we go say like we go to an ICU one with
Mhm.
all our gear on. this is how scarce it is. We basically have to come out, spray everything, and then once it dries, we have to go towards another patient. And we have about, 6 to 8 patients that we see every 4 hours. So
Right.
it's a lot of work, but it's what
Right.
we do.
And then how many like patients roughly like do you have at your hospital now that you take care of like in a day on a daily basis?
That are COVID
COVID
positive.
patients, yeah.
Um, online, I think we have. I'm guesstimating here because I just saw our poll yesterday,
Yeah.
but it's not counted by hourly. It's counted by weekly.
Okay.
And from what I saw, we had 36, um, 36 infected patients, and
Hmm.
then another like 30 plus that was unknown in
Okay.
the hospital. But that the information is on the hospital's
Like website.
Facebook page. Yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah.
we do weekly updates.
Right, right, right. But so, how has the situation? Because in the beginning, I'm guessing it was all kind of like super mental and like, what does information come from that you're getting? Is it a CDC that gives you the big information, or who is like you're sort of above the hospital who gives you information about? Oh, there's this new virus. What does it entail? Like, where do you get this information from? That is then the one that you trust. Is that the CDC, or
CDC.
do you have like another medical thing?
I mean, we base a lot of our infection control through CDC,
Hmm.
um, and they basically give us the protocols. Although we do have some protocols of our own that were written by CDC and
Right.
were, approved by our directors of whoever I guess in charge of those things. And
Right.
so that's how ultimately the protocols are put together.
Right. And so do you feel like now that you guys are solid in recognizing it, having enough tests, are you testing yourself now, or is it still going to an outside situation?
Um,
Do you actually
I,
have tests? Because I still like, there's always like
so
conflicting,
we do
you know.
have tests. We do have the test at our hospital. I haven't been in the last 5 days because I've been off,
Yeah.
but it changes literally daily. We
Right.
go through so many changes, and I think that was the main reason people were very anxious because our protocols were changing so fast, like
Hmm.
constantly. And
Hmm.
to go to go see your patients hourly, and then the next day you find a new protocol. It's so nerve wracking.
Yeah.
Um, so that's literally how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, have you how are you like how are you dealing with it on your personal level with like the stress of it? Like, have you been working more shifts, or is it just like the same, it's just like rotating as always? But
Uh,
has the situation like been in your place? Um,
well, we've definitely we started a we became tighter as a unit,
yeah.
like the respiratory therapy like department.
Hmm.
um, we've had to, because some of us are staying at hotels because we have family at home, and some of us are staying with other friends because they don't want their loved ones to be infected. But
Right. So just as a
yeah,
preventative situation.
so
Oh,
we've been very, supportive of each other. It's been
yeah.
hard. It's been very hard. I definitely have music to
Yeah.
like, as you can see, I have,
Yes.
piano right here. I've been writing a lot like of music. I just finished a new album that's
Right.
coming out soon.
Hmm.
Um,
That's with your
I,
band Color Up?
yes.
Okay.
So I've been practicing social distancing and basically going to band practice and being 6 foot away from each other, and make sure that
Are
we're
you are
distance.
rehearsing 6 foot away from each other?
Yeah, we are. And just
do we trust in the 6 feet thing? Because there was this talk about like, especially if there's wind, it can be like 27 feet that the virus can like fly around in the air. So I'm a little bit like 6 feet doesn't seem a lot, you know?
it depends on the temperature. There's so many different factors. And
Right.
in the heat, the virus's lifespan in the air is shorter than when it was colder.
Okay.
Um, so like even like now we have the sun out.
Yeah.
So, if you're, 6 feet away from me, that's more than sufficient,
Okay.
um, distance
Exactly.
for if I was asymptomatic and I coughed,
Yeah.
it would just go, it would literally go down. But if it was cold, that's a different
But it's also the
category.
wind. Like, I was thinking that, like, because they were talking about, like, so Shadi's saying the 27 feet. And, like, I'm super paranoid. So I, like, kind of, just been out, like, twice to, like, Trader Joe's. And
Uh-huh.
where you, like, line up, you're 6 feet. I was, like, trying to do, like, the double length. And the guy was, like, trying to tell me to come closer, where they have the lines on the
For
floor.
sure.
And I was like, oh, they're talking about 27 feet. And, like, why are we, like, standing there? It's, like, this little alley thing. And it's, like, the wind really, like, blows at you. And I'm like, is this guy in front of me is, like, breathing or coughing. I was cycling the other day, and that really
So
upset me. Like,
So with the whole 27 feet thing,
yeah.
if you're, because my mother is immunocompromised, and I've
What was
had
that?
to
What
be
is she? Oh, sorry, I didn't get that.
immunocompromised.
Okay.
Her,
Yeah. So
her, her,
immune
yeah.
situation.
Last year she went through cancer, and so, and she went through her chemo this couple months ago. So I've had to basically make sure that her infection control, whenever I've been trying to tell her to go home and do the social distancing thing. It's very important for her. But if she does have to, she has to abide by the CDC infection control, like disinfecting everything when you come out and versus coming in,
Yeah.
like even if it's airborne, right? The whole 27 feet thing,
Yeah.
and like it gets you in your clothes per se. As
Right.
long as you take off your clothes before you come in, and then you disinfect everything, every porous thing that
Yeah.
with disinfectant, it's it work like the infection control works
Right.
as long as you have the
Because would it go
knowledge.
through like this kind of fabric? Do you know what I mean? Would it go through the fabric? Because what I do is I wear this kind of like rain jacket windbreaker things because I'm thinking like you can't get through there, and then I have like a hat on and like 2 masks and glasses and
Uh,
gloves and then the hoodie of the like jacket on top of it. Like I look like a crazy person, like literally.
but when you go into your home, do you still have it on? Do
But
you
it's
put it
the
in a
way I
separate
come
bag?
in, like when I come in the back where my car is parked, like I have like literally my washer dryer there. So I literally come in, close the door and like get naked and throw it all right in the washing machine and then I go shower. And if I've been like shopping, I have done this thing where I left the stuff like for 3 days or longer in the car or like outside my door or like I bring it in bit by bit, kind of what I need. And then I disinfect it and I wash it, like every single egg and every
It
single
sounds like
thing.
you're practicing good disinfecting, procedures, which is
Yeah, I'm very
ultimately
paranoid.
that's good.
I can actually see
Um,
those things flying around in the air, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
I was cycling the other day for the first time. I was like, I gotta get out. And I was like, I'm gonna try cycling around the area. No one's gonna be out, right? And then this woman was walking across the street. And as I was like waiting for her to like pass, she was like smoking a joint and like really like lovingly like floating it out of her mouth. I was like smelling the weed. And I was like, oh my God, if I can smell the weed, sure the virus is gonna get in there. Do you know what I mean? I was like, why are you doing this, woman? Just go somewhere else and smoke in your house or something, but out in the street, like you're like, she was like proper going
yeah.
for it. So I was like, oh damn, I was paranoid for a moment, but yeah, I'm quite paranoid anyway. So
One thing that I wanted to put out there is most of the patients that I've seen pass away because I see a lot of patients dying from COVID.
right,
It's over my hand, like over I can't even count them in my hands how many patients I've seen in the last couple months dying. But most of these patients are older or they have an underlying disease,
mm-hmm.
whether it be asthmatic, whether it be a smoker, whether it be they have a heart disease,
Yeah,
lung disease. Most of these people have problems prior to, having the COVID.
Right.
So their situations were a bit different if you're, being healthy and being and your immune system is
Right.
good, even if you do get it. Like I myself, I take vitamins, I work out constantly,
Yeah.
I try to eat correctly. So my immune system is pretty good. So that's one factor that people do need to understand. It's like if your immunity is good and your health is up to par,
Right.
then it's something that you
How
to
about,
think about.
see, what I read in a European magazine was newspaper. It's not so much about like getting ill and being able to survive it, but there's a lot of potential long-term effects from it, like fibrosis in your lungs, or like it takes you 4 weeks, a month or something to get your lungs back to scratch, and all kinds of other things that I don't remember anymore. But it was talking about potentially having long-term effects for if you get it, even if you
Yes,
survive it. And
that
I
is,
think
that
that's
is
like nobody talks about this over here because it's okay, like thinking like, oh, I'm great, I'm surviving it. But then if I have a fucked up lung for the rest of my life, I kind of want to get it either.
well, as I said, it goes back to the whole thing. Like, are you a smoker? Do you partake in?
Right.
Do you have an underlying disease like asthma, or because the way COVID it's is longevity in the lungs, especially if your lungs are diseased, is it acts like pneumonia, and then it goes through it basically degrades your lungs elasticity, and it gives
Right.
you ARDS, which ultimately this is why people are intubated and put we help with the procedure of intubation. That's our pretty much our bread and butter.
Right.
We put patients on life support for however long, and then we just wait for their lungs to basically come back to normal,
Mm-hmm.
and and it might have long-term effects, but that's because they already had underlying diseases that led them
Okay.
to that point.
Okay.
It To think like if you don't smoke and you've never had like asthma, pneumonitis, COPD, so forth and so on. If you didn't have any of those problems before, then your lungs will have the viability to come back to normal. It's just it,
Mm-hmm.
you have to understand that if you're going towards that route, like I saw this one British lady who did a blog, and she was a smoker and she
Right.
couldn't breathe. That means that she's a CO2 retainer. It means that she basically her lungs are so bad that she can't oxygenate well. So it was
Right.
already bad to start with, and then you put in this
Yeah.
disease that ultimately like will take over. So it's the underlying disease that ultimately is the reason for people having ARDS,
Yeah.
pneumonia, all the lung diseases you were talking about
Right.
earlier.
Right. Right. That's a good question for me because I have this situation where I only breathe with 70% of my lung volume. I didn't really know why. I constantly get it tested. I was in London. They were like, oh, asthma, but I don't really believe in that. It's just I just don't really breathe enough in there or something. When I do this like test where you have to blow in, it's like it's torture for me, that clicks open the valve and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh
yeah.
my God. I always have to go like 10 times before I manage to do it. And that would that be like an underlying condition? Because if I only
Definitely.
have 70% of my lungs anyway, like, I mean, I have the whole lungs, but I don't know what it is that it just functions to that level. I think
So
my brother has the same. There's
so
something
they diagnosed you with asthma.
they did in London, but I don't really trust that. But like, I was
Do
in,
you when around people smoking, when around pollen or the season of allergies, do you ever wheeze? Go. "Ah."
I definitely have issues with like incense and sage and people and candles. Candles, I really
Yeah.
cannot have candles. They like hurt my lungs.
So
Um,
do you sound like "Ah,
I don't
ah"?
really do that like that much, I would say, but like I also avoid it, so it's hard to
Have you
say.
ever had that happen?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have such a bad memory.
Well, fair enough. But
you know, I'm really bad, like,
asthma.
Even when I'm like fit and I like hike and stuff like that, I like,
Yeah.
like I kind of sound really heavy breathing and I like run out of air quickly. So as if I was like completely like unfit, but it's just my lungs, you know?
I think that you shouldn't devalidate the whole asthmatic thing because asthma,
Right.
I mean, people have asthma all the time.
Right.
So that is definitely one of the diseases that make it harder for people to come back from it, and because your lungs are constricting, it's making you hard to breathe. So imagine if you felt like that now,
Yeah.
and then there was fever and your body going through
Right.
the aches and pains, and then still having a hard time breathing. That's literally what our patients go through. So I think someone has like a long ass question.
Yeah, I know people personally. Do you want to read it? Don't have to.
Conditions who have had extreme breathlessness and then lung weakness, pain lasting past the 14 days. I totally agree. I mean, imagine all that stuff that like all your friends essentially that have had the breathlessness, like
Yeah.
feeling. Imagine those people, and then you have an underlying disease where like you're a smoker, asthmatic, all those stuff. So it's so hard for people to breathe. Um, and that's why people get intubated. People essentially are not oxygenating, ventilating, and then their body ends up giving up, and we end up, going through the codes, the patient
Mhm.
codes essentially, and we try to revive people that go through it, and sometimes we're successful, sometimes we're not. So
Right.
there is Lisa,
Lisa?
Liza,
Lisa.
Lisa.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is one of the um uh
If anyone has any questions, pop them in. Sorry,
yeah,
crossing.
it's all good. But there's truth to that. I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
a lot of people with that underlying disease go through the breathlessness and the shortness of breath, essentially,
Right.
and
Right.
that's a huge factor of COVID. It's just that's why it's so bad for people that have
This.
asthma
I have to see.
to come back from it because they already it's like stacking, you're like stacking all of the diseases inside you and your body. Sometimes you just don't have the strength to come back from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Um.
I hope that helped. I mean, I was just basically
You're saying
saying that
yeah.
there's truth to what you're saying,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And then like have you seen like the press has been saying that like California has kind of sort of peaked or like going back, and even New York has not had any new cases apparently, like 2 days ago, whenever it was that I checked. Um, do you see anything changing? Do you see things getting better?
Um, as I said, I haven't been back at work for 5 days,
Oh yeah, you haven't.
but
Yeah, everything changes.
yeah, according to the poll that I saw, we
Yeah,
still have 36 patients in there, and unless I see any difference, I mean, if you follow me on Facebook,
yeah,
or even here, I'll start posting.
yeah.
Like if you guys want to see, on a weekly basis how say
That'd
Good
be kind of cool.
Samaritan's doing,
Yeah,
I'll just post it, and if you guys have any questions,
yeah.
follow me. I'll be more than happy to try and answer your questions.
Questions. Exactly. Well, in that case, I found gonna like a little bit over to your other side, which is you being music. I mean, thank you for like doing what you're doing. This is incredible.
My
Honestly,
my
like me,
pleasure.
I cannot imagine like going like as I was saying, like being the craziest germaphobe on the planet, like going into such a situation. That's so incredible to me that you're doing this, and yeah, thank you
I've
for
been
all
doing
the
it for
advice.
I've been doing it for 13 years. It's just a different time. This is just a time of crisis. Just
Right,
I've
but
had time to basically really know and understand how to do my job, and
right,
do it well.
right. But this is I mean, people say this is our world war, and so I mean, does it feel like frontline sort of situation?
Very much so. I
Yeah,
mean, it just going to downtown at any given time, like no one's out, you know, and everyone's at home being safe and being, you know, very mindful of what's going on. And
Yeah.
I mean, it
Well,
feels like it. It feel
right.
like when it was first happening, it really did feel like it. You know, when we saw Garcetti like in on the news on every channel talking about the lockdown, you know, at one point it was like, what is going on? You know, it made sense because San Francisco was going through it already. They already did a lockdown, and you know, New York did a lockdown, and then
Yeah.
California just got hit. And
I'm married.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's very, very stressful, to
Can you
say the
imagine
least.
also like seeing all like these people dying? I don't know what that does to you, especially at such a like rate. Um,
I definitely have some
do you do like
some people.
meditation, or do you have some sort of spiritual way of dealing with this? Or do you
I've
just
in the
take it
last
all?
13 years of being in the field, I've learned to
Yeah.
compartmentalize my emotions. Like,
Right.
the best way I can share it with you, since
Yeah.
you're a musician and you
Yeah.
perform. Like when you're performing on stage,
Yeah.
right? You are an entertainer. That's what you do. You have it in your mind to convey the feelings and you know the rigmarole of being an entertainer and
Hmm.
making people happy essentially, right? And then but when you're off stage, right, you're back to okay, I'm breathing. I think I did okay. You know, you have that like or you know I fucking did everybody loved me everyone in Hollywood was about it like I you have all these emotions but it's that you know post that
Experience.
while you're experienced
Yeah.
right
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so if I and then but those two have two different emotions and you have to feel a certain way on there's like a professionalism on stage
Yeah.
versus when you're by yourself
Right.
so if I was to you know kind of try to correlate that. It's not as heavy, obviously,
Right.
but
Right.
not at all. But we have to be able to compartmentalize our emotions
Hmm.
um, in in the hospital versus being outside. And I've dealt with it in ways. You know, I've written songs about it. Um, I've drawn a lot and sketched a lot. I try to like take um, all those emotions and kind
Yeah.
of try to be constructive with it and
Right.
project it outwards in a positive way versus negative. And
Yeah.
obviously, there's also drinking and you know,
I don't think
uh,
about that because going out, like I don't think about drinking, but people tell me they have like 3 massive bottles of vodka at home, and it's like I totally didn't think of
yeah.
that.
I mean,
It didn't cross my mind.
I try to numb myself as much as I
I
can
like the way
because
you're like, I'm staying really, really healthy, and obviously there's drinking.
I'm only human. I'm only human.
I know. So that
Yeah,
brings us to your music. So thank you so much for like all this like amazing information, and I want to
you're
talk a little
welcome.
bit about your music. So you said you've written quarantine songs. Is that what you want to play us? Yeah, I want to hear a quarantine song.
It's not
I'm kidding.
it's not a quarantine song. It's called Burnt Out, and I wrote this a while back, but I only finished my album that's gonna come out in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
I've worked with some pretty cool people on this album. My producer's name's Manny Nieto.
Uh-huh.
He produced what was it Health. He produced Health. He produced The Breeders.
But,
He
oh wow,
produced yeah. He produced he worked on some Mars Volta stuff.
nice,
Um, yeah, he's not John Frusciante, the one before the one that before John Frusciante. He's worked with that cat. He's a really good producer, and I'm
hmm
excited. I worked with him with my past album, and
nice.
then I'm getting to work with Pete Lyman again, which is awesome. He did Rival Sons. He mastered Rival Sons.
Right.
He mastered Weezer and some really cool
So,
people. Yeah,
so
I think he won a Grammy last year. So
oh wow, that's cool. What was that for?
yeah, for I want to say Zach Brown Band or
Okay.
Chris Stapleton. I think it was Chris Stapleton.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I get to work with these people, and that's just, you being in the music industry for
Yeah.
how long? Like, I used to play with like Young the Giant and like Rival Sons back in the day.
Right.
So like you tend to just network and work with a lot of other people.
Right. And so this is all when you're saying your album that is with your band, The Color Art? Or is
Yes,
and do you write the music mainly? Is that
everything. I
okay,
write
so you
everything.
write everything
Yeah,
and they come in. Okay,
yeah,
that's why you're sort of my album. Yeah.
yeah. Because I wrote everything. I was so tired of being in bands where I was just a singer.
Yeah.
And I've had to basically rewrite or restart over again because of I don't know, like just bands breaking up.
Yeah.
So
I know the feeling.
I ended up exactly, So I was like, you know what?
Luckily, I was always the pulling horse on it, so it's fine. But
Yeah.
anyway. But
What?
yeah, so
So I was tired of that, and then I basically just taught myself how to play piano and play guitar. And as soon as you know the music theory of it all, you can kind of play
so
bass.
good night to Mary, who's in here because she's in Europe. Just like it's late for her. Going to sleep.
Good night.
Bye. Thank you for being
Thanks
in
for
here.
saying hello.
Bye. Lisa, you still here? Right. So how do you I was gonna say like how do you explain your music? It's rock music basically.
Yeah, it's rock music,
Classic.
but it's also inspired by a lot of like Motown, and it doesn't sound like it at all, but I love Motown and R&B and Stevie Wonder and Otis Redding and the blues,
Yeah.
B.B. King and
Nice.
Robert Johnson. I love all those like that music.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of like put it together in a way that makes sense to me, I guess.
That's all we can do, right?
That's all I can do. Yeah.
So, what do you want to play us? So, I'm looking at the time. We get cut off at 1 hour.
Okay, cool.
So it's like
I think
30.
we've only gone.
Do you
I
want
was
to
thinking of
go on?
I was thinking of doing Burnt Out, and what it's about is it's about working in the hospital and like having to see deaths on the weekly, on the daily, and having to be a normal person. I actually want to do a music video about it where like it's like a POV of me essentially going through the rigmarole of being a healthcare worker during
Right.
like a COVID time. I don't know if it'll if I'll do it or it seems like a lot. I have to like do CPR on it. I think it'd be cool. I don't know.
So, whatever you need to do, right?
I don't know. It's all about like how we use our emotions, right?
Exactly. I mean, especially for someone like you, I mean, you gotta get that shit out. I mean, we all do, but you have to go back and function in that situation. So,
yeah,
whatever you have to do, you do.
I do. Anyways, you froze, by the way. I don't know what you said before
I
that.
did.
Yeah, I don't know what you said before it.
I was just saying, you just have to do what you have to do.
Yes, exactly.
Am I still frozen?
No, you're good. You're good.
Frozen.
So this song, it's called Burnt Out,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about being a respiratory therapist and a healthcare professional. So I'm gonna go do that. Can you hear this?
Yep. Let's hear you, the voice.
Hello. Can you see it?
Yeah. I was just thinking as in the levels, like the voice on the guitar, if you just like sing it all.
Well, I'm burned out. Is that okay?
Yeah. I
Or
think
should
you
I go
should
down
go
the
a bit further
guitar?
back with your like body or your voice, yeah, because it starts a little distorting.
How about it? Well,
Yeah,
is that better?
yeah.
All right, cool. Gotta do my my sound check.
Exactly. That's like,
That's so
and the guitar
funny.
can be louder. Your voice
All
is
right, cool. Thank you. So
sure.
this one's called Burnt Out, and I hope you guys like it. Well, I'm burnt out from slipping away. Oh, and I'm sick and tired. And all I have are these words to live by, just to stay alive. Every day it stays the same, getting tired of the race. What's the worth of all the pain if it all stays the same? I know every day it stays the same, getting tired of the race. What's the worth of all the pain if it all stays the same? I don't know, baby. Well, I'm burned out from living away, home, down, sick and tired. All I have are these words to live by, just to stay alive. Every day stays the same, getting tired of the race. What's the worth of all the pain if it all stays the same? I know every day stays the same, getting tired of the race. What's the worth of all the pain if it all stays the same? I don't know.
Yay!
Thanks. I don't even know if you can hear it well.
That was not a new one though, right? That was an older one you said earlier, right? Or did you
That
say it was
it's an older one, but I've never released it.
Oh, that's what you
So
said.
I finally produced it correctly.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I have these organs in it, and the dude that did it, he's on our Instagram page, but he is the pianist for Ziggy Marley, and he fucking killed it. He like made it so soulful. I fucking love it.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So that's gonna be on a new album.
Yes.
Cool.
I'm stoked.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. Do you want to play another one? You said you want to play
Sure.
actually.
Yeah, sure. This will be another one.
Turn the guitar a little bit up, I think.
Huh?
I think you can turn the guitar up a little bit.
All right, you let me know.
Yeah. That's good?
Better?
Yeah.
I didn't write this.
Okay. What is it?
Well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water. And I think of all the things what you do. In my head I paint a picture. Since I'm coming home, well, my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you lie my dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie. Oh, Valerie. Oh, oh, oh. Did you have to go to jail? Put your house above the stairs. Did you get a good lawyer? Oh, oh, oh. How you didn't catch a tan? Oh, you found the right man who'll fix it for you. Ooh, ooh. Are you shopping anywhere? Change the colors of your hair. Are you dizzy? Did you have to take my you're touching all the time. Are you dizzy? Since I'm coming home, mama, body's been a mess. Come on, I want you to sing it.
BB's for you.
Won't you come over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come over, Valerie? Oh, oh. Valerie. Ooh, Valerie. Oh, oh, oh. Valerie. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Ooh. All right, so can you hear you? My headphones fell.
Ah,
yeah.
That little jazz. That's what you should do. You should have like a sing-along. A weekend special sing-along session.
Yeah, we should do it. That'd be awesome.
Oh my god, that'd be so fun. I mean, I'm wondering what I should do at the weekend, like songwriting sessions and stuff, but it's not manifested, like it's not happened yet, not in just sort of concept, but we could have like a sing-along.
That'd be really rad.
You're the kind of person who like can play all like songs and stuff. We could have like a sing-along. Oh, but then we can get everyone in. We might actually have to do it in a house party or something and then post it.
Yeah. It'd be cool. You know, it'd be really cool to have like a whole band there.
Right.
You know?
Like in every single different spot. That would be amazing. I would love that. I wish Instagram would let more people come on, you know, because you can do that house party on Insta, you know what I mean?
That would be so rad.
We should have all those like little people here on dots and everyone could just sing along.
I know.
Perhaps have to do it on Facebook or something. But
that'd be rad.
It's the just
I don't think so.
House party. Damn.
Yeah, it's just Zoom or a house party.
Damn. Anyway, that was fun.
Well, so, thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for all your incredible insights. That was. I'm glad it's just rounding it up with a little music here now. So what's happening with the color up? Like, when's the album meant to come out and all that stuff?
We just got our mixes, like our final mixes, and then we're going to send Pete Lyman our album, and then it all depends on that, and you know how it goes. There's so many things that you have to go through.
Yeah. But do you think this is like it's gonna happen this year?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's gonna happen in the next couple of months. I just gotta go.
Oh, virus or not? You don't mind about that?
No, I gotta go. You know, do the whole work thing and saving lives. I don't know why I did that, but
saving lives.
I know that doesn't work there. Saving lives.
Like showing friends when he doesn't know how to use this.
Yeah, I don't know how to use
saving lives, like actually saving lives. Oh my god. You're just like,
that's funny.
You're making it sound like I know it's like your life and you have to deal with it, but like it's actually like incredible what you're doing. Like,
thank you very much.
For everyone who's here and for everyone in the world, really. You know, I was gonna say worldwide. You know, so you know, hopefully we can like all curb this soon. And
I hope so too.
and make
I
it
don't.
better?
You know how everyone was saying that it's gonna happen in the next month or so. I tr I don't know if you've read some articles about like how Hong Kong and like
Yeah.
who else?
Wow.
I forget who else. Basically, like it started coming back after they opened it up. I think and feel
This
since
is what I'm
we're
worried about. Hmm.
we still got to be very careful if
I
we
was
end
actually
up
talking to
opening
my
up in
mom
a
about
month.
this today because my mother's in Austria and she called me and she was saying that from today on, I said this earlier, from today on in Austria, like smaller shops are allowed to open up, like under 400 square meters or something.
Hmm.
But you have to have a mask. Like they have handed out, every person who walks in the store gets a mask handed to, you know.
Yeah,
So you have to do this. And apparently Austria, they're really, really good. They're really good with strict, not no bullshit, like I find
yeah,
we see a lot still here. Even though the majority is probably good, but there's still a lot where I'm going like, are you kidding me? You know, um,
yeah.
and so they are gonna start doing that, and I wonder what's gonna happen. And it's the thing, like it goes away, but if not everything is completely eradicated in the world, there's always a chance for it to come back.
I think it's gonna be like how the flu is. There's gonna be seasons for it, and
Right?
like how like H1N1 and
Yeah.
this is downplaying it obviously, but
Right.
like I believe that we're basically going to go through a seasonal thing where
Yeah. No.
people will
Yeah. I believe that too, but I feel like
yeah.
if enough people are like immune and stuff like that, then good question. Once you've had it, are you immune? And if you're pregnant, are you immune? Because somebody told me if you
No,
have
no, no, no,
already.
no. We recently had a patient that
Okay, so that was
the
a
mother
lot.
uh, no, no, we didn't have a patient, but there was a mother who was positive for COVID, and I think this was in Middle America. I forget. I think Florida maybe. But I read an article where the mother had to give premature birth, and the baby passed too, and the mother passed.
Oh my
But
god.
I mean, no
That
one.
does happen. No, somebody told me because I have
Yeah.
a friend who's pregnant. I was like, oh my god,
What's
I
up,
heard.
Tommy?
I heard.
Tommy.
Yeah, that's.
Tommy, FB right there.
Hey,
The
Tommy.
bat. He is a badass respiratory therapist. Oh, and Yvette.
They'll popping
These
in
two
at the
are,
end.
yeah, these two are amazing respiratory therapists. Yvette
Hey
is actually
guys.
one of, she was in,
Thank you so
we
much
love you
for
too,
what you
man.
do.
Uh,
Thank you so much for what you do, all you guys. It's incredible. Really incredible.
Yvette is actually the girl in the dance video that you saw. She's the one in the back.
In the dance video, what did I see?
Yeah, you posted it on your Instagram. It was the
Oh,
girl.
yes.
She was the girl in the back. I was trying to get Tommy to do it, but he was like,
Ah, that's
I'm
fun.
a,
So
yeah.
you still get like moments during the whole craziness where you can just like have a break and just like be like light about everything.
Well, it's like any other jobs, we have uh break time like anyone else. Like,
Right.
we like even though we have mandated break times. That's
Yeah.
just I mean, it gets fucking busy,
Yeah.
but we still have break times.
Right. Right. But what I mean is
And
like it's not like everyone is sort of like so like weighed down at this point, and you can still like laugh and make jokes and be silly and do stuff.
we try to be
Right.
more, it goes back to the whole compartmentalizing thing about
Yeah.
emotions and having to deal with this shit. I feel like since we deal with such bad, um, not bad, but like horrifying situations in our lives, we need to counteract it with positivity and
Right.
laughter
Right.
and
Right. Right.
jokes, and
You're right.
we have to, because without that we would be
You're mental.
exactly, we'd go mental. So
Yeah. All right. It was always fun winter. Ah. Well, one day
feelings mutual, buddy.
we should do some
Fuck yeah.
video going viral from your station. I think that's what you should do.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Exactly.
Um,
All right. Well, again, thank you so much. It was so good seeing you again as well, and in this different sort of setting. Um, Stay safe
likewise.
with all the craziness that you have to go
And
in.
I hope you and your family, especially the people in Britain, I hope you guys, I hope they
I'm
stay
Austrian,
safe
you know
and,
that. You always get that wrong.
oh,
I'm
my
Austrian, but I
bad.
lived in London all my grown-up life.
Well, you keep on saying
But my
London, so I'm
family
like,
is
oh,
in
okay, she was in
Austria. Yeah,
London.
no, you're right. You're right. I've always like
My
I've lived in
bad. No,
London.
my bad. I'm sorry.
It's just I love it. Like people are like, yeah, and then Germany, and I'm like, yeah, right. Like Germany, what?
You did live in Germany for a while too, right?
I've always understood in Berlin, like bits and pieces of my life, but you know, it's a neighbor. I get it. You know what I mean? Same
Yeah.
language. You know, but it just makes
Yeah.
me laugh when I've known people for like a long time, and it pops out that they think I'm from
I'm
somewhere totally
sorry.
different, and my name. Some people call me SiSSi, and I'm like, no, that's not my name. And you've known me for so long, but it's all good. I really don't mind. I
I'm
laugh about it.
sorry.
We laugh about it now, don't we?
We have to.
Exactly. That's what we have to do, guys. We have to laugh and be
Yeah.
creative. That's what we have to do to stay sane. All
What
right.
have you been up to
Tina,
musically?
musically, I'm
Yeah.
just working on a new EP. I have been doing some sort of things. I've been asked to write stuff for things I cannot talk about.
Fair enough.
And,
I know. I know you're ghostwriting
for
for
film
people.
and TV and stuff like that. But I've been working on I'm working on an EP right now. I was recording on the weekend, and yeah, we'll see when that comes out.
When are we gonna play together?
When we're allowed to.
I know. Another thing that I was thinking about is like, you know how a lot of businesses are, it's gonna be hard for them to come back from this.
Right.
And like, I try to think about all the venues and all the bars that we like play and how hard it is gonna,
It is.
for them to
And
come
loads are
back from
gonna
this.
close. I was talking to someone yesterday, who's from Austin, who was like sort of saying how like loads of music bars are gonna be closing, and that will mean less shows and less places to play and all that. You know, it's definitely.
I bet you like the whole live, live concert via online is gonna be like a huge thing, and
Well,
we're gonna end
I'm
up
up
like,
for like we should have a sing along. We should like plan this somehow and like have a little, get all like our music friends in a house party and play, and then perhaps we could just like post it on Facebook to make people happy or something.
that would be
I wish we could
amazing.
get everyone in. Yeah. If there was a way, that would be so fantastic, but we can't.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I'm gonna say goodbye now because we're gonna get cut off, and I'd rather say goodbye than get cut off.
Valerie, I just sang about you earlier. Sorry.
This whole thing is gonna be on the live replay, and when
Okay.
I have like about 10 shows to still upload, I'll upload it when I get around to it. But it's gonna be a not 24-hour live replay if you want to like post it, like share it to friends.
Awesome.
On my live
that'd be rad.
stories. All right, thank you so much for your good work.
You're welcome. Much love.
And thank you for coming on, and stay safe.
You too.
Bye. Yeah, that was it, guys. Bye, guys.